It's never too early to talk about the 2025 WNBA MVP race. My name is Rich Latta. Today we're going to be looking at a new report that I just saw from Sports Grid, which chronicled the top 4 contenders for the WNBA MVP going into 2025. Now, last year, it kind of felt preordained, like A'ja Wilson was going to get it. The way everyone kind of set the tempo before the season, it was blasphemous to mention anyone else. And then Wilson responded with a legendary season of her own. But I think, other players definitely had arguments, at least for first place votes, especially like some of the people we're going to get into on this year's list. I think it is important to mention the concept of voter fatigue. I think it is, with Wilson having 3 MVPs now, look for voters to spread those votes around unless this continues to operate in an entirely different way than, most sporting leagues. But when I looked at this list, I was very surprised not to see any members of the New York Liberty on there between Sabrina Ionescu or Breanna Stewart or even Jonquel Jones. There was no Kelsey Plum on this. Kelsey Plum's kind of freed up and, going to be like the number 1 option. And she's going to be the leader of her own team for pretty much the first time ever. All right, so let's start with the longest shot on the list, which is Satou Sabally. I was shocked to see her on this list. She was traded to the Phoenix Mercury in the offseason as part of that mega deal, which saw Alyssa Smith leave the Fever and ended up 4 different teams involved. I can't remember everyone off the top of my head, but that was pretty much the big move there. Of course, Alyssa Thomas going there. They've got Kahleah Copper as well. So like the Mercury are like completely remade in the way we've known them much of WNBA history at this point. Like 10 seasons for Brittany Griner, over 20 years for Diana Taurasi at this point now. If she decides to return, I don't know. But Satou, they're basically saying she has plus 6,000 odds. She opened at plus 12,500. Her stats last year, 17 points a game, 6 boards, 5 assists, and she played about half the season as she was committed to the German national team. So what they said is Satou Sabally has seen a massive shift in her MVP odds, moving from a long shot from 12.5 to 6,000. While she remains a fringe candidate, the fact that she's one of the biggest liabilities for sports books suggests that sharp bettors believe she has an outside shot. They talked about her stats and they said last season it demonstrates her versatility, but she'll need to elevate her game even further to enter the top tier of MVP contenders. I find it hard to put Satou on this list just because of the other 2 players on her team. Kahleah Copper is going to get her buckets no matter what. So it's going to be hard to distinguish if Sabally's really, the number 1 there. And Alyssa Thomas is always going to be a threat for first team all WNBA. So she's going to have to establish herself in a way that she has not previously. Up next, plus 550, Napheesa Collier. Napheesa Collier has been killing Unrivaled, absolutely destroying it, averaging right around 30 points a game, won the one-on-one competition there, and she's probably my second favorite player in the league, just how she plays and, how she approaches the game. And, always hear great interviews from her, very likable. And, flat out was robbed in the WNBA finals. I'll just say it, like, should have won the title last year. And you can never underestimate somebody coming up that short and getting that close to actually winning it. And of course, some of the controversy around the MVP voting last year, where she did win Defensive Player of the Year. She was, led the team to the 2nd seed, largely without another superstar player playing next to her. Kayla McBride is a very good player. I would not call her like an all-league, all first team level, all second team level player, but Napheesa Collier can easily put herself in a position to kick the ass of the league next year. And she will be very motivated. So let's see what they said for her. So her current MVP odds are plus 550, opened at 650. Last year, 20 points a game, 9 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, 49%, and killer defense on the other side. So they said Napheesa Collier quietly put together an MVP caliber season last year, finishing second. Her odds reflect coming off a stellar year, moving from 650 to 550. Collier was dominant on both ends of the court, went through her averages, nearly 50%. She does not have the same public betting support as Caitlyn Clark for obvious reasons, but her steady production and all-around impact make her a dark horse candidate. She ranks second in handle percentage, indicating that the sharp bettors see value in her odds. If the Lynx perform well, her case will strengthen. So the outlook for the betting says that she's a strong contender with improving odds. Her MVP case will gain more traction if she keeps up her two-way dominance. Yes, and I think the league needs to find a way to like showcase the Lynx more, because that was like a big thing. It was almost like they were keeping the Lynx like hidden away all year. But they were just one of the most exciting teams in the playoffs last year. And with Unrivaled, I think Collier's visibility and star power has, risen quite a lot. Up next, you know who? Caitlyn Clark of the Indiana Fever. So her MVP odds are at plus 240. So she's the number 2 ranked person here, opened at 250. Her stats last year, you guys know them: 19 points a game, 5 boards, 8 assists, a legendary kind of stat line that is, produced more offense than anybody in league history. 49% is her ticket percentage. Highest handle is at 62.5. I'm not a bettor, so I don't really know what that means, but maybe some of you do. What they had to say was Caitlyn Clark is by far the most popular MVP bet among the public. The Indiana Fever star was a game changer in her rookie season, leading all candidates in assists while contributing 19.2 points a game. Her ability to facilitate and score has made her a fan favorite, and sports books have adjusted her odds slightly from plus 250 to plus 240. With an overwhelming 62.5% of the betting handle and nearly half of all MVP tickets placed on her, Clark is the biggest liability for sports books. Her odds could shorten even further if she continues her impressive play and lifts Indiana into playoff contention. Their outlook says Clark has value at plus 240, but remains a high risk due to her team's inconsistent performance. However, the market's confidence in the 2024 WNBA Rookie of the Year is undeniable. So I think they're working with slightly outdated information. There's a whole new team around her, so I would look for that inconsistent performance to drop. I think Clark is just as good a bet as anyone. She's going to have the most eyes, the most publicity, and she's going to presumably build on those stats. If she put up those stats with, she was passing the ball to Christy Wallace half the season. So if there was somebody that would make a few more layups, those assist numbers might go up just a tick. And if she does that, say she just averages 1.5 more assists a game, she's in the double digits for assists. So we've seen her working in the offseason, getting stronger, working with skilled specialists, and she has kept, her head down. And she has not played an Unrivaled. She's been a gym machine, seemingly behind the scenes. And I think when she rolls into next year, there will be no 10-game grace period. Essentially, this will be, the best guard in the league unleashed fully with weapons around her like she's never had, going back to college. So this is perhaps the most exciting year of Caitlyn Clark that is due to come up, and she is definitely a threat to win the league MVP. She's going to have the popularity, and I think the voters have shown an aptitude to vote for her in these awards. She finished 4th last year. There was, a slight bit of goofiness with the Rookie of the Year award not being unanimous, but that's not enough to swing an MVP race, I feel like. And the number 1 person on here, A'ja Wilson for the Las Vegas Aces. So they have kind of completely remade their team, having the big trade, which brings in Jewel Lloyd. But A'ja Wilson, this is going to come down to her and what she wants to do this season. I do want to mention that voter fatigue, won the MVP last year, set a standard, with that 1,000-point season is like, can you live up to that? The Aces themselves being a 4 seed, kind of taking a step back there. Will Chelsea Gray improve her play this year to put that team back in a higher position? If this team dips below 4th, I would find it very difficult to put the MVP on A'ja Wilson again, especially in a unanimous fashion, how they did last year. Her current odds sit at plus 180. and her stats are ridiculous. 26.9 points, 11 boards, 2 assists, 1.8 steals. They don't have her blocks listed, but she definitely blocks shots. So she's the betting favorite to win the MVP. The Las Vegas superstar was a dominant force on both ends of the court last season, leading the league in scoring, 26.9, while also pulling down nearly 12 rebounds per game. Her efficient shooting and defensive presence make her the most complete player in the league. Despite her strong performances, Wilson's betting handle percentage is relatively low compared to other candidates, indicating that while she is respected as a front runner, many bettors are looking for better value elsewhere. However, with her odds slightly shortening from plus 200 to plus 180, sportsbooks recognize that she is a serious contender. The Outlook says she's a safe pick. 3-time, she's been here before 3 times, but her odds offer less value than early in the season. If she maintains her elite production, expect her to remain the favorite, especially when you add that in with the media's tendency to naturally favor A'ja Wilson. And I think that is something that has to be acknowledged at this point, because if Napheesa Collier last year could not steal a single MVP vote with that historic level of play, with Caitlyn Clark could not steal a single vote, there's something else going on. So I think this is going to be an exciting race. I don't know if Satou necessarily would be my number 4 person, just because I think someone like Kelsey Plum is going to have an ultimate green light. She's probably going to have, a shot at least early in the season. People will start talking about her. But for me, this comes down to, I'm looking for either Caitlyn Clark or Napheesa Collier to take this. Like I said, I thought Collier was fantastic all throughout last year, and especially in the playoffs. I think that rolls over momentum-wise, rolls over motivation-wise, and then Caitlyn Clark, armed with more weapons than ever. She's, I think, coming into this year feeling like, okay, I'm not worn down, I'm not exhausted, I'm not coming directly off the national championship game. I'm coming back with a couple players that I played with last year, and essentially an offensive system that's being built for me, with a coach that knows what they're doing now. This is going to be a totally different year. I would be if A'ja Wilson's able to pull off another MVP, it would be seriously impressive. But it would also, I think so many things would kind of have to go wrong elsewhere for A'ja to win it, just in an outright fashion, how she did last year, because I think the forces of the league are pulling away from the aces a little bit. The Fever are rising, the Lynx are there, the new teams with Satou, and then, as I mentioned, Kelsey Plum. I think either way, we're in for a very exciting race. And, since they want to try to set the table before the season, let's start doing it. Let's start talking about it now. 3 months before the season, I'm going to start talking about the MVP race so we can get this thing fair and balanced. So anyway, my name is Rich. I'm up out of here. I'll see y'all next time. One lifetime. Peace.